Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mythic Dungeon Invitational. We're on our 4th series of the day, practically halfway through. I am your host, Adrian Healingstat Archerlock, and joining me we have Jack. And you tell me, have we left the best till last? It's the final person in our casting repertoire. It's Rich Campbell. Rich, you've been sitting backstage, you've been enjoying the games, relaxing just a little bit. Now we've got you on in your beautiful orange suit. What are you expecting from Ying?
Oh man, all right, so we have some new faces here, all of them incredibly intelligent, and I have been told by Sours their best hope to win in this matchup is by bringing a healer. Now the question is...
Jack might have said that as well, actually.
Yeah, but, you know, we're not going to listen to him on this one. Jack, are you excited to cast with me?
Oh, I've been waiting 210 days, I believe.
210 days.
This to happen.
Hundreds of carries by me with you. Countless depleted keys, and now we're here on the desk. And here's the question. I think that we could be seeing a strategy coming in. All right, right side up. That's a good start with Q card.
You're getting a bit rusty there, Rich.
Yeah,
careful with your card. But yes, so we're going to have Ying going against no healer. So obviously that's one of the big themes. No healer ran a lot of that no healer composition during the time trials. So we think maybe the win condition could be that healer for Ying.
All right, but here's the thing. A lot of people ran no healer during the time trials. The time trials are obviously going to be a very different environment than what we see here in the actual tournament setting jumping in right now. So could this just be the next level play coming in? This would be like my strategy, like no DPS. Show up, no DPS. Guess what? We got 3 of them. But the thing is do you think, Jack, that maybe we do have one of those scenarios here where all of a sudden they actually do bring a healer? Maybe just a clever name choice?
I think the farthest that they're actually going to be going with this is they're going to bring, for example, like a paladin or druid that's going to be in like a DPS slot for like one instance, like just the Maw of Souls. You may have like like a Ret Paladin or maybe a Feral that'll actually come in and just DPS for that first one, but it might also just be, one of the funny memes that they're coming up with during the time trial.
And also,
I'd be shocked, really.
So here's the thing. You can kind of target it in that first pool, right? Obviously, we're going to have different levels of keys throughout the different rounds as we do kind of move forward in this tournament. We are still in that first round, so of course we are going to be starting on Maw of Souls as well. The thing is here is Maw of Souls, with this key difficulty, it becomes a reality that maybe you are able to do that run without a healer. I'd be really excited to see it, but then as you move forward, you get to some of those later dungeons. Obviously, the pick could come in from the other team if they do fall in that Maw of Souls to get a dungeon that's you kind of need a healer for. It's going to come down to that 3rd dungeon.
Well, that's the nice thing.
I just wanted to cut you off. We've got the healers. We've got the compositions locked in. We're about to find out. No more deliberating for us. Maw of Souls is going to be our final one. We are almost done with this lower final round. Once we have it, of course, Maw of Souls will be the final one, and then we'll move on to different starting maps as we go into the lower bracket. But we are ready to start that map off, see those compositions. Will it be no healers? Will it be plenty of healers? Will they have any DPS? I'm expecting to have a few DPS, but I'll let you guys move away and kick it off on the final Maw of Souls of the day.
Yeah, we got to jump onto this boat for the last time. Enjoy that fresh ocean breeze of this beautiful sea. But the question is, are we going to see any healers, Jack? I really hope not, because that would be really funny to me.
I'm glad we'll be able to entertain you here, and we are seeing no healer.
This is an interesting
on the right side of your
composition
screen.
as well. It's also an interesting composition coming in from Team No Healer. They're going to have those double Death Knights. They're obviously going to be able to get, they're going to have double Demon Hunter, which is going to provide a lot of healing for themselves. They can run that soul build, and as you can see right now, they're going to be able to stay in that demonic form with the gear set that they're running. A lot of eye beams coming out, so they can heal themselves quite a bit. And Warlocks, no strangers to self-healing as well.
The scary part about this, though, is they keep on refreshing, and finally the bursting had fallen off, but they were having a lot of refreshes, so thankfully they were able to hold on to many of their damage reduction, many of their immunities there. But it's quite scary to come out, and the most significant part of this is that Team No Healer you can change your specializations. You have to lock into your classes, but they literally cannot get a healer if they pick something, if their opponents win, or they have to pick something that's going to be a lot more healing intensive. They have no healing.
And this is the thing that's actually really scary. We're going to see the Rogue drop very low there, not even going to have to cheat death. That is massive. The Rogue is going to be the target that I have my eyes on throughout this dungeon. Rogue's going to have significantly less healing than we see on the Demon Hunters, significantly less healing than we do see on the Warlock as well. The Warlock already in nice position here on Yimmeron, getting very close to that horn so they can hit it right away, get up into those cages, and move throughout the boat. The main thing that you do have, though, is that Blood Death Knight. That Blood Death Knight going to be able to provide leech for the group. If that's used in the right windows, that should be enough to heal the rogue up. But to follow up with what you were saying, Jack, this is crucial for them. If they don't win this map, I just see them getting 2-0'd. If they win this, then they can have that nice counter pick on map number 3 and maybe be able to be team no healer and get the victory.
Yeah, and a very, very interesting thing is they were 15% faster on the boss than Ying 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 here. Very, very scary pull coming up here. Cheat Death already being procced. So much damage coming out. They are getting about 5-6 stacks of bursting here, so it's a lot that they need to be able to leech heal through, that they need to just absolutely survive. Rogue dropping very low. Tank is very low. Purgatory procs here. Trying to get his way out of that. He does. Darkness is down to offer a little bit of extra damage reduction, but just so much damage. Tank is just getting destroyed here.
Yeah, that's quite chunky damage coming in there. Gonna drop down, and that is going to be the first death coming in. There's the second one as well, gonna be the Rogue. Now, will these Demon Hunters be able to keep themselves up? They should be able to tidy up that trash, but we got to put our eyes over onto Ying Ying Ying, and we haven't been paying quite as much attention to him because obviously it is going to be Team No Healer that can go faster before these deaths coming in, but slowly we will start to see the methodical method of Ying Ying Ying, the more traditional Holy Trinity being brought here. Will they be able to catch up on this trash pool?
It'd be interesting to see because they already did lose their tank as well, Ying Ying Ying. Now you have, the Heathens really of Team No Healer. They're having their tank, for example, just skipping across. But it'd be interesting to see how their tank is gonna catch up. I guess they're just gonna be getting the summons up and ready to be able to get him back here.
It takes a little while to actually get that going, though. The nice thing is about having the Rogue. Obviously, the Rogue is going to be kind of that scary target for us, Jack, but the Rogue also is going to allow them to get past a lot of big pools.
One of the things I'm super confused about right now is how is their Death Knight going to actually get back to them if they're not summoning him?
That's what I'm kind of waiting to see, right? You kind of have to see that angle there to see if that is what they're going for at this moment. Oh, they're able to get the res.
Oh, they're able to just get the res off with the, I guess, the Soulstone? Or what, a failure?
No. I think that was a hard cast coming out from that Resto Druid there. I'm surprised at the range action. Oh, you were looking at the other side.
I apologize. I'm looking at Team No Healer, how they were able to get the res off in their tank. They do have the Soulstone. They do use the battle res. He did actually pull all the mobs, so he's just going to be at the seat of the stair, or at the foot of the stairs. They wait for, again, the Mariner to pat back, so that way they're actually able to get the res off cleanly. That's what they were waiting for, just to make sure that they were able to do it cleanly.
Yeah, honestly, it's our first time casting together. Obviously, we got a great big sea in front of us on our screens, but I got lost in another sea. That was the sea of your eyes, Jack.
This is Mon. This is not sea. Ying 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 here taking down the rest of the champions here before they go into Harbor Run. Interesting, this is the first one that we've seen so far that actually hasn't been bringing, of course, the champions up into Harbor Run. They did get the champions down. They're bringing the Swift Blades up, offer just a little bit of extra cleave damage, a little opportunity there. And they are running, like Sowers mentioned, they are running that Frost Death Knight.
I also want to say, this is a real race here at this point. We got an even death count coming in, and both of these guys pulling Harbor Run at just about the same time. Obviously, it is going to be No Healer that gets the pull a little bit slower, but keep in mind, they got that extra DPS. Last time, it was about 15% that they were able to win on. Now, no mechanic failures can come in here. The nice thing for this group, though, nice cleave damage should come in. They should be grouped up anyway. We just got to make sure that they get past. Wow, massive damage going to come out.
The cast does go off of the server, and they had so many interrupts. They had so many kicks available to them. Rogue drops very, very low. I don't believe he's proc cheat, though. They are going to be relying on Hellstones and Leech from the Death Knight to actually be able to get himself topped off.
Hellstone's definitely going to be an important thing as well. There's that cheat death. Now, keep that in mind. That is going to be a hefty cooldown, but if you were going to die at one spot, as long as they can get the boss down, this could be one of those deaths that is less fatal. Obviously, it is going to be the 5 seconds on the counter, but you can afford some if you are running this risky strategy. The question is, will they have to be able to deal with something like that Harbor Run falling down? But it is going to be Ying 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 that's actually pulling ahead at this point. You can see Harbor Run already at 40% for them.
You've seen a 15% differential going on right now, but you're hoping that No Healer is able to actually take advantage of the resources that are available to them. Fragment again going out on that Rogue there, trying to make sure they're able to cleave it down. They are having the Leech going back up. They were saving the Leech there for when the Fragments go out, getting a little bit extra damage on. They really got to make sure that they get rid of this mob. I guess they just dropped him so low and didn't even think about the interrupt. So it's very, very important to make sure that they get him focused down, getting everybody topped off and dealing as much damage as they can to the Leech. They're about a 20% differential now, so they're still not really catching up, even if they do have No Healer.
They need to catch up at this point, and look at how much damage. We're getting a little bit overshadowed here. Frost Death Knight at this point, just dealing so much damage with that burst damage that they're actually able to get out onto these ads. It really is this Death Knight that is able to get so much work done for the team, and now we're going to see how they do this upper ship pull. We've seen some varying strategies already.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, they are walking right up to it. I don't believe that they're pulling every single side of it together. You know, they are just sticking to the right side. We're going to see, again, that power of the Frost Scythe from the Frost DK there, really just pumping out as much as they can. So they're opting to just have just one side there, as Team No Healer is, of course, just finishing up the boss there, making sure that they're able to stay safe. But they are, again, notably just falling behind a little bit.
I mean, that is the thing. Look, Harboron just about to fall now. Question is, will Team No Healer be able to find the damage that they need to find? They're going to need to go absolutely massive here.
They're going massive right now.
They need to.
The Sky Step going in, getting everything in together. This is the same thing we saw from the last series from the past two teams. Pulling absolutely everything, getting as much damage out as possible for Team No Healer. Just absolute huge damage going out. It'd be interesting to see how they're going to be able to, easily survive through a lot of this bursting damage, because the bursting did refresh here.
This is the reason I am a Demon Hunter main now. For that one reason, you just get to press that I-beam button over and over, and that is going to take down that trash, and all of a sudden, Team No Healer is back in this one very convincingly. They're going to have that mini-boss right now, as Ying still going to deal with that top ship pool. Warlock trying to get out as many Seed of Corruptions as possible, trying to catch up here. Obviously, we're going to see that big damage out of the Monk, but right now, we're already going to see good old Skull about to fall.
We're seeing excellent coordination here by Team No Healer, making sure that they're able to get any of the give no quarters, getting them out of the group, not hindering the other melee in the process there. Everyone is pretty low. You're waiting again. That 45-second cooldown, or I guess the 30-second downtime, you're waiting for consumption to get back up, getting yourselves topped up, as you're seeing as everyone is just getting themselves healed up here, and trying to coordinate it. I do like how they're kind of coordinating it with Leech. You're seeing most of the time, every single time the Quakes go out, you are getting people topping themselves back off here.
I've said it quite a few times, but you got to highlight it. The Rogue probably has one of the hardest jobs on this team. You kind of have to go in, almost play a hit-and-run strategy. Go in, do massive amounts of damage. You get a little bit scared at certain points. There are a lot of things that you don't have to actually mitigate that damage. You don't have the leech coming in from your tank, so you got to be the knight. You got to run away. You got to hide. You got to do whatever you can in that toolkit. Get back in there, because you just don't have the healing that the other DPS classes have here. And now already we are going to see both of these teams about ready to drop down to the ball. Skull, though, still with a little bit work need to be done for Ying. And this is a true race here. 5 deaths all around both of these guys. Now it's time to play Whack-A-Tentacle.
Yeah, the thing right here is seeing if No Healer can actually survive this war of attrition. You are going to be having the dots going out. I guess you would be relying on maybe the Warlock's pet to dispel if you even want to be going into that, or just letting the ticking damage going out. I believe that they are just having the Warlock pet do the dispels for them. That way they're not taking too much damage here.
You've ran with me quite a few times. I like to play that Warlock. I would go with no dispels. Let's go all out damage here in Team No Healer. Let's see if they are able to do it. They're getting quite a few of these tentacles down. They got to get through a few more, and already Ying knocking on the door of this ship, trying to catch up and find that early victory. This first map, absolutely crucial to both of these teams. If I had to pick one series where map number 1 is going to matter the most, it has to be this one, because Team No Healer needs to get that advantage so they can pick a good third map, because Ying will be able to countercomp. If Ying can be able to get this map here, they find themselves in such a strong position in this series.
Yeah, just like you talked about, the investment here, the general win condition for them, it may not actually be bringing a healer at all. It's just winning your first game. And if you win your first game, doesn't matter about the second game, you get to pick the third game, you get to do whatever you're most comfortable with, and they're pushing cleanly. They're able to get the dispels off. People are not taking that much damage. They're able to leech heal through it. They have all the tools here, and all they have to do is burn off 13%.
I mean, look, they have the tools for the rest of the series as well. You actually have that subtlety road so you can get good skips in. You got the damage, you got the self-healing, but it all comes down to this. Will you be able to bring down Helia faster than Ying? Already working on this boss, trying to get the damage in. Helia starting to dip low, already to 80% here. They're going to be able to do the mechanics nice and easy, and now finally it is going to be Ying that's about to pull Helia out of her watery hangout.
You're seeing right there, excellent coordination, getting the darknesses down right as, of course, any of the debuffs are getting dispelled, avoiding a lot of the extra AoE damage that's going out there. They're getting a Soulstone up on the DK just to be extra safe here. They have 1 battle res remaining, so that's going to be the one thing that could sink them. And I love the preparation out of the demon, or out of the Warlock there, making sure that if the worst happens, they're ready for it.
And hey, the thing is, they're going to be able to pump out massive amounts of damage. If the DK is the last person standing up, if they're far enough in the lead, able to pop up with that Soulstone, maybe you can actually see that DK solo this boss as well. It definitely is a class to do it. They have to go all in here. here, and they're doing just that. And already you can see it is Ying. As soon as that boss emerges, they're able to get that really good burst damage coming out from that Windwalker Monk. So they're not that far behind, and now it is going to be Helia that is submerged here. And the second she pops up, they need to slam her right back down.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing that you're talking about here, of how much extra damage they really are getting out. Interesting thing to note is that the teams in the last series were actually getting the first submerge at 73%, so it's not like they're getting a lot of extra damage here.
The question is why? You know, you look at the meters right now, and the main thing that I have to think about is the single target damage that's really coming out from the Warlock is going to be a little bit lacking here. Oh, it looks like Cheat Death may be already be up. Rogue in a very scary position here. They can't afford to lose a DPS because the Helia does submerge here for Ying at 72%, but it looks like Helia should fall.
Yeah, but Helia should fall here. All they needed was just a little bit of leech, getting the Rogue back up. And the biggest thing is that it doesn't even matter about the single target damage if they can just pull so huge and win.
Where's the chest?
Would you like to see the loot?
Yeah, could we instantiate a chest in here so I can see the loot, please?
Looks like we did get rid of the chest, unfortunately, Rich. I'm terribly sorry. We've seen it a couple of times now, but either way, no healer, no problem. No healer will take that first game against all odds, and not only did they take it, they had less deaths than Ying.
They did.
Ultimately, yeah, the question is how well is no healer going to be able to move throughout the rest of this series? This second map, Ying should be able to pretty much, we talked about how almost to a degree, we're going to see a little bit less of using those compositions and counter mapping almost, but this is one where Ying can really target their opponent, Adrian.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what these map and affix combinations come out as. But one of the things I really do want to talk about in that last game is, honestly, Ying looked pretty good for a long time. It was that big boat pull that really turned the tide, so to speak. Why do you think they were able to pull this like without a healer, Jack? How do you think they did
it? Was an absolutely huge risk that they were going through, but that was exactly what they needed. They were, 10-15% behind, and they did lose a lot of time. As Team No Healer, they lost so much time fighting against Harboron, whereas Team Ying was able to catch up. So all they really needed was that gigantic pull on the deck of the ship, getting everything eliminated. And while their boss damage wasn't too phenomenal, it was really just about annihilating the trash.
Jack, be right.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we'll have to see now. No healer, of course. They have the advantage, which they very much needed with such a risky composition, but it's a question now of can they actually take it all the way? They don't, not only do they not have a healer, they don't have a hybrid class. They have no potential to lock in a healer. This team is playing as risky as you possibly can, but they're winning. They're winning against the #3 seed from China. Ying are going to have to find the answers with the counter pick in game 2. We'll have to see if they can do it. Join us after this quick break to see if no healer can go all the way. You join us at an exciting time. We've got no healers, but we have victories anyways. No healer, of course, 1-0 up against YINGYINGYING. And one of the first things I want to talk about coming back from the break is I just can't believe it. Like, how was no healer able to do that? Like, what was it about the classes they did bring that made them not have that healer and still pull out the victory?
All right. I mean, hey, look, you don't need a healer at all. I mean, I've been telling everyone this for the longest time, and finally, some people have caught on. You don't need them. You don't need them. We don't need you at all. At all. I'm so happy. I'll tell you the real reason, though. I'm so happy that it actually worked out this way because I almost had to cast the series with Jack where there was a Disc Priest, and now I get to cast one with absolutely no healer. But the thing that's interesting about this composition, Warlocks, Demon Hunters, are kind of the classes you expect to see in this composition, right? And that's the reason for that is they have incredible amounts of self-healing. Now, the Rogue, that's the one that's it's a little bit interesting. But the thing with the Rogue is you actually get more damage than you can out of any damage class by just completely avoiding mobs, and the Rogue is going to give them that option. They can get good stealths. They'll be able to get that in this next dungeon, but the Rogue always going to be a little bit risky because it doesn't have those self-heals, but it does have cheat death. It does have plenty of things to try to surpass certain mechanics.
Yeah, and I think it was very interesting to see how they rotated those. You have to be on point with your darknesses and, of course, your Rogue mechanics, but it's worked out for them now. Of course, YINGYINGYING were the team to get the map choice, having lost that first one. They're the number 3 seed, so you'd expect them to have something solid here, and we can see that Darkheart Thicket was locked in by them, and they've also gone for Sanguine as their affix. So, Jack, what do you think about that Sanguine? And, of course, the other two affixes here will be the Tyrannical and the Explosive.
Oh, yeah, I love this pick. I mean, they're not really picking the third affix to try to hold up Team No Healer. I mean, Sanguine is usually one of the easiest ones to really deal with for most groups, but they're really just running this because they want to make it as easy as possible on themselves, YINGYINGYING. They want to make sure that the Sanguine's not really going to hold them up, while Tyrannical is going to really just slow down No Healer so much.
And one other thing that's going to happen, and I really want to throw this one to Rich because you were talking about that Subtlety Rogue, we're actually going to have our first specialization swap of the day, and we're swapping from Sub to Assassination. So what do you think about that on this map?
Okay, so a lot of times you actually do kind of run for the sub because on this map in particular, we've talked about it in the past, because of things like Drezeron, right? You're able to have that Shuriken Storm. You can pull a few extra adds that aren't really going to do too much, and you just throw out the Shuriken Storm, instant combo points, and you can invest them all on the boss and have massive eviscerates, do truckloads of damage to a boss. The thing with Asa here is I'm not 100% sold on the pick. I'm excited to see what they actually do, but the thing with Asa is overall, they're going to be able to get a lot more targeted single target damage, so they don't actually need to just go for those pulls, and single target damage was something that was somewhat lacking for this group. So I think that could be their mentality, but they have a really hard road ahead of them. The thing is they're probably knocking on wood at this point because Drezeron could just blow them away.
Yeah, not only am I a fan of knives, I'm also a fan of innovation, so I'm very happy to see that no healer are prevailing so far in this series. We are ready to dive into game number 2, though. The new map, of course, Darkheart Thicket, not one that we've seen so far this tournament. Xavier's Playground. Will it be the prevailing place for no healer, or will YINGYINGYING pull one back in this series?
Yeah, Darkheart Thicket on Tyrannical, having to deal with the Sanguine. Like I said, it's not going to be too big of a deal, but really getting past Drezeron, like you're talking about, getting past Drezeron, getting past, of course, Xavius, the random damage that can be going there, it's going to be quite a tall task for them.
Through thick times and thin times, Team No Healer has just grown together as a squad around one mantra, and that is we don't need no stinking healer, and that's going to cause the Warlock to die here right off the bat. And there's some crazy mechanics that are going to be going out at this point, right? You got dogs jumping all over the place.
You have dogs jumping all over the place. You have to deal with the explosives, and you also have the poisoners. That was one of the first deaths that you're, of course, seeing, is the poisoner will just put this debuff out, need to dispel it within 2 seconds, or it just completely destroys you. So getting a cat jump on you, getting the poison that you may or may not have a dispel for from the Warlock pet, it looks like they probably didn't have, or they probably can't even dispel the poisons. So just really, really scary to actually have to watch out for right off the bat.
And then the Warlock dies and on the run back because you actually do have to worry about those leaps. Going to have to pop the sack pack so he can get back somewhat safe. And now we are going to see that 2 deaths going to be on the board for Team No Healer. But as we jump on board with our other squad, YINGYINGYING, you can see they only got 1 death so far. And they have a much more standard composition that is going to be really strong at dealing with all of the trash that they do have in this dungeon. And it's not the hardest key. Let's be honest. At this point, the key level level is lower, and you got Sanguini. That's so easy to deal with.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they're so confident that the instance itself, that the tyrannical bosses, that the healing required is going to outpace consumption. It's going to outpace, the Hellstones. It's going to outpace, Demon Hunter's Leech. That they're just confident that we don't need anything else to really hold them up, just the instance.
Oh, the thing is just let no healer lose to themselves. That really is the mentality, and there is a very real scenario in my mind where there are just certain bosses that Team No Healer can't get past, but they have the advantage of being able to pick that third map, and that is why we said it is so important that they did win that first map, because they can go to something like Upper Karazhan next, where this could be a very strong composition. Now, I want to go back to that Assassination Rogue in just a little bit, but this is a big pool that we have to pay attention to for Ying. Mostly, we just want to see how they are going to do it. Are they going to try to skip past these bears? And as you can see right now, Perk procs, finally the tank does die. The rest of the team is going to be in position. They take so long to take down that this is kind of somewhat of the standard. We've seen teams fizzle bang it. We've seen teams go in with the Hunter, have the Hunter feign. There are a lot of different strategies. These guys here, they have that Rogue to maybe use to get past those bears.
Yeah, and make it a little bit easier on them. The interesting thing about this is that I think Team No Healer is always just thinking about game number 3. They're thinking about what else they can be doing here, because it's going to be so much more difficult. They could probably have, for example, the Warlock stand out for Lady Alice. They could deal with any of the jumps there for the cat. But once you get in past the Drezeron, what then?
That really will be the question, because Drezeron's going to be difficult, and the other thing that is going to be difficult, I want to note really quick here before we talk about all of the tough things that the squad's going to need to get past. That was a very nice pre-bear that did come out here, so keep your eyes right now on the healer for the team that's blown up big on your screen right now. That pre-bear going to be very important. We know that the cat's going to jump out to the furthest target on this boss fight, so when the healer is able to be that furthest target away, a druid's very good for this fight. They can just go into that pre-bear form, one global, incredible cooldown. It's essentially a cooldown, even though it's never on cooldown.
That's right, and exactly right. And they're all starting with Guardian Affinity here, so they are able to take advantage of the frenzied regens. They're jumping into bear form. They're getting, of course, the frenzied regen out, and then they are wearing the, I believe it's the Fury of Nature and Lady the Child. That way they're able to bump out the extra Moonfire damage. So even when they are sitting in that bear form, they are still doing quite a bit of extra damage to the boss, as you're seeing right now.
I can't believe I just talked about a healer. I feel disgusting. Let's jump back over with Team No Healer, a.k.a. Team Have Fun. The Team Have Fun is not having the greatest time in this dungeon, as we kind of did expect. Not even able to pull the boss yet, and the Archdruid about to fall for Team Ying. Trying to get it down here right now, trying to get in that last remaining bit of damage, and look at the massive amounts of damage that a Windwalker Monk can be able to get out on a fight like this and throughout the rest of the dungeon. I mean, yes, you don't have 4 DPS in this scenario, but you have one of the most solid comps here in the game, and then you switch it up by having that Frost Death Knight.
Yeah, and the big question here is how far the defense is really going to go for the Warlock here. I mean, sure, you'll have a couple cooldowns here and there, but you'll have the Leech to be able to top yourself off, because you do get that very, very nasty bleed debuff. But what then when you start running short on cooldowns? I mean, again, his Pride has refresh, and he really needs to top himself off as rapidly as possible so he doesn't start losing Pride as shield to the bleed. But the consistency factor here
this is what I was going to say that you have to do. You have to have the Rogue sprint out and most likely invest a cheat death. That's the question. Will the cheat actually be procced? But it looks like their cooldown's going to be enough. You can also use the Leech at this moment. And that's the nice thing about having the Warlock as well in this comp. You have Health Stones and you have Leech. So that Health Stone's kind of going to be a cooldown when, oh no, we don't have Leech. It's the get out of jail free card. You don't have cheat death. That's really when the Healthstone's going to be invested.
Yeah, you just have the Demon Hunter jump out there to be able to take the bleed. He's trying to pump himself up with that extra Leech healing there. He's trying to do whatever he can to actually just mitigate that debuff, but he does go down here. You're seeing Lady Alice taking out his first raid member. They're trying to get just the bleed spread out just a little bit more frequently here, but they are getting the battle res out really, really quickly there. They are getting the Warlock, who is the furthest out. They are going to get the next jump coming out from Lady Alice very, very soon. I believe he does have his attack backed up again just to mitigate that hit.
Hey, look, you don't even... It goes without saying right now that the map pick is doing a lot for this more standard team, and they are crushing this one. They are just barreling through right now. They are cutting through all of the thickest trees in the thicket, and now it is going to be the Archdruid that's finally starting to fall to our 4 DPS squad.
And you're seeing here Team Ying taking down the Keeper right before they're going on to just the little flowers, making sure they're able to get as much trash done as possible. It does look like they're posturing right now just to be able to skip a lot more trash near the end here. And again, Sanguine's really not holding them up too much here, and that's the nice thing about it, is they're focusing on playing consistently, playing cleanly, getting through it easily.
They just got to play the game. Look, if we were in a dungeon right now, I'd be doing Rich Campbell things. You'd be yelling, and you know what? I still wouldn't be dying. The Warlock at this point just kind of needs to stand there, just press drain, going to be fine. Sanguine's not going to really bother him. Everybody's doing their job, and a lot of the time we're even going to be able to see the healer be able to look. Druids pump. You already mentioned the legendaries. Resto Druids can pump. They can get out these massive amounts, and you can see that Lady of the Child on right now. Now going to be able to go into bear form, going to be spreading them very efficiently. That's going to be a decent amount of damage that we see out of the healer here right now.
Yeah,
almost hitting that 1 million mark.
And the nice thing about it is that it doesn't put Druid into, say, for example, a very one-sided scenario where they're only able to deal damage in Feral Affinity, right? Having those extra legendaries, while you do have to be wearing a Guardian Druid legendary and I believe it's a Boomkin legendary, Lady of the Child, you know, they're not Resto Druid specific, but you are able to still have that flexibility between these tough instances where you are still able to dish out big damage.
It's a really good pool that they're actually going for here, Jack.
Yeah, making sure that they're able to get rid of the Keeper there. You are going to have, of course, the Resto Druid die, but he's able to release, stealth around, get around, no problem. And they don't need no healer right now.
All right, but we also do see a death that maybe we didn't expect at this point. I don't think that's one that he did predict. This is where it's going to start to get really scary. This next boss for no healer shouldn't be too much of a problem, but the main thing that I want to see is the fact that Demon Hunters are beautiful for quite a few things. And one of those things is the fact that they can actually run soul rending, right? And with this demonic build with tier 21 and with the fact that you're getting out so many eye beams, you can actually run that legendary on your helm as well, which is going to allow you to get more of these eye beams out. The self-healing that they do is incredible. But the other thing that is on that talent tree is going to be their immunity. It is going to be that nether walk. And the thing is as we get further into this dungeon, immunities are going to become more and more important, and I'm assuming that they don't have them because they need the self-healing as well. So keep an eye on that from Team No Healer, but the thing is Ying needs to play their game correctly here. They can't really afford to make mistakes. The question is when they get a little bit further on, will they be able to afford those mistakes? Will Team No Healer fall dramatically behind? Will they find a wall that they can't get through?
Well, the last series, or the last game that we even had, you know, we did have this similar impression where Ying was quite a bit ahead. They were, you know, doing much better on boss fights than Team No Healer was, but all it took was one gigantic pull. And that, what I'm kind of interested in seeing here is where is that opportunity going to be for Team No Healer to actually catch up? Where is going to be their extra win here?
I think that's already passed. To be completely honest, hey, I know. I tend to be very optimistic, you know.
Yeah, very cheery.
I'm the one with the hair, and I'm the one with the optimism. Those are the two things. I mean,
Am I bald?
I saw that you're already bald. I saw that you're already bald on Twitter. But the thing is you got to be a realist at times too, and it's just going to get harder and harder.
Yeah, hair plugs won't do. Now you're seeing Team Ying engaging with Okart here, getting in down to 85% quite right rapidly. You're seeing everyone getting tightly packed in together, making it very easy, of course, for the Druid just to get into bear form, clear out all the roots just in one go, and of course keeping everybody tight in together, just make sure everyone's standing in that effervescence.
And you get to do that, and also you're going to see Resto Druid very easily here is going to be able to shift, and that's going to be able to get rid of those roots that actually do go down on the ground. That's going to make things nice and easy for the team if they want to go along doing that method. They basically do have the option to do that. We're not going to see that on Team No Healer, but what other mechanics, Ying, even with their more traditional comp, are they going to have to worry about with Okart?
Well, the scary thing is they're going to have to be focusing on the ground pound that's going to be coming out of Okart. I mean, they're basically going to be forced to hold consumption every single time to be able to get everybody top back off. So it kind of takes away one of the options for the tank for Team No Healer, and he basically just has to play as defensively as he possibly can. So you're going to be seeing, you know, while there is a sacrifice of, you know, them not having a healer, their tank also just can't afford to play as aggressively as the tank for Team Ying.
For sure. Yeah, you know, the other thing that is terrifying about Okart is all of the puns that Sloot will inevitably make if he makes it to the thickest of thickets. But right now, you guys are safe. You're safe here, guys. You're absolutely safe at home. We love all of you for tuning in to this Mythic Dungeon Invitational, the first weekend of many. We've already gotten just about everything that we could have hoped for. We got a team rocking out with No Healer here. They finally pulled Okart. Will they be able to narrow this gap before Okart does fall, before we hear Ying yell timber? And we can see that Okart right now is starting. Yokart, I don't even know what that is. Jack, just start talking.
Team No Healer trying to throw off the yoke of Okart here as they're getting down to 60%. And again, like we were talking about, they're having that consumption leech every single time the ground pound comes out. Their tank, of course, not dealing nearly as much. There's a 200k difference in between the DPS of YINGYINGYING and No Healer's tanks. There's so much more defensive, so much more tanky because you are alone. You're relying on just yourself here.
Chipping away at Okart here. Is going to be
try it.
It's going to be Team Ying, and ultimately they are able to make his bark look a lot worse than his bite. But the other team who is able to do that is Team No Healer. They're showing that you don't need a healer here. And look, this is really where they are starting to catch up. Death's got to be even at this point, and Okart melting right now to this squad. They're about to get him rooted, planted deep into the ground.
Yeah, like we were talking about with the assassination pick, I think you had mentioned it, where you're trying to get a little bit more single target damage out, and this is where you're really going to try to find the opportunities, any kind of opportunity, really, to start catching up. I mean, again, they're gaining a lot more ground. They're closing the gap. They're getting huge boss damage down. The boss is almost down here. But I'm very interested in seeing how they're going to be pulling up the Drezeron and even how they're going to deal with it.
Well, here's the thing with Drezeron as well, right? Subtlety Rogue is obviously something that we saw utilized when we were on Maul, and there are a lot of phases where those ads are mandatory, right? You think about Harboron, you think about Yimaron, those ads are going to happen no matter what. So you can go ahead and do those Shuriken Storms. Those are mechanics that you have to deal with anyway. With No Healer, it might be a little sketchy to try to actually pull extra little baby dragons. I know that they're little baby dragons, they don't look that scary, but all that damage does add up when you don't have any healing buttons to push.
Well, you actually do have a really big healing button to push. And I would counter that they really should focus on pulling in those little Spyros there.
Leave healing out of this, Jack.
The leech. All they need right now is the leech out of consumption. Pull a bunch of little dragons, hit the leech button, and then you're getting everybody cleaving onto those as they're running back into the boss. They're able to heal themselves through the storm and stay topped off here.
This is we're not talking about healing right now, right? You're in timeout. I'm gonna pull Adrian in here to cast.
Yikes!
If you don't cut your shenanigans, brother. All right, Drezeron gonna be pulled by the team with the Holy Trinity. Let's see if that is enough to do it. And one of the big mechanics that we obviously have to look for, it's the mechanic that we expect to absolutely blow away Team No Healer, as we already see they're going to have a few deaths here popping up, is this mechanic right here, the flap of the wings.
Yeah, and what you're seeing here is they are taking advantage of getting all the whelplings out there. They are making sure they're getting the cleave damage going on there. Well, interesting thing for Team No Healer is that they aren't able to... They're not getting their res off. They are actually having to deal with little elementals. Ideally, what you want to be doing with the larger elementals and Chaos Furies, you want to be able to pull them into a corner, kill them, and then be able to run away very, very quickly. That way, you don't actually have to deal with any of the extra garbage that's going to be going out there. So they are just kind of waiting to be able to get out of combat here, get that pylon off, get the res off very, very quickly for their last DPS there. So they're kind of just waiting, and they're kind of losing a little bit of time here and there. Pylon goes off. They're able to get the res, get one of those fish feasts out to get themselves topped off, but now they're much farther behind.
Hey, the thing is they were chugging along decently. Okart was really the place where they caught back up. Okart suddenly got them back into this, but they needed to go fast up to Drezeron, in our opinion.
And that train's just running out of steam.
It's totally running out of steam. They're going to need to gas that bad boy back up if they're going to hit that pedal on the road to success. I mean, how do you get to fuel up the way I botched that one? How you get to fill up on the road to riches?
Now with Drezeron here, big things that we're really focused on is going to be the knockback, the down draft that's going to be going on. You really have to stick in close to the boss here and making sure, as you're seeing, they're pulling more and more of the little dragons going out over here, getting the extra cleave damage, making sure that they're able to funnel in a little bit more cleave here. And again, they're getting their DPSers up, and I am very interested in seeing Team No Healer engaging with this, being able to get the consumption buff up on everybody, 20% leech, cleaving onto the extra dragons that are little popping up, and healing themselves for as much as they possibly can here.
This could easily be where Team No Healer is sent to the Shadow Realm on map number 2, and we will see very quickly how they are able to actually pull this one off. You can already see the Warlock taking a position that's relatively far back here. Damage still a little bit low out of the Warlock, but the Assassination Rogue is going to be pumping at the moment. This is the reason that they actually did tech it in, able to get out this consistent pressure without relying on those ads. I-Beam going to be tossed out here by our Demon Hunters, and the Demon Hunter's just doing massive amounts of damage, dealing with those dragons, and they're able to stay in demonic because of it as well. They have those extra adds. They're going to get more I-beams out. They don't even need to necessarily pop a meta to stay into their damage, their highest damage dealing form, but Drezeron going to fall a little bit earlier on for our squad on that left-hand side of your screen, and now they're going to be moving forward, headed to that final boss.
And you're seeing there's excellent work as Drezeron is approaching 50%. They are able to get so much leech healing out onto the rest of the group. You know, leech healing seemed like it was a little bit late, so they're really trying to top off the rogue here, get as much healing out as possible before, again, the roar goes off. It's really nice being able to have Feign for the rogue, just being able to reduce the damage reduction from AoE attacks. They are just burning through this boss. Just the biggest thing is looking for when Ying is actually going to trip up. It's actually going to fail.
They're actually, I think they're performing way better in this dungeon than we necessarily thought they could on certain areas, and Drezeron's going to be one of them. I mean, look, this boss is just getting demolished at this point. It is going down very quickly. Remember how long it really did take Ying. You can look at the split on the bottom portion of your screen now. You got to keep in mind 10 seconds behind will be Team No Healer because of the extra 2 deaths that they have amassed at this point, but it doesn't look like they're going to find a death on Drezeron. They've been dealing with these mechanics beautifully, and now death going to pop up here for Team Ying. That's 5 seconds now that they just lost.
Yeah, and it's the scary part about it when you're trying to make that aggressive pull, and I don't necessarily agree with making that aggressive pull because they should be able to have that faith, that confidence that they're going to be able to take down Xavius. That it's going to require, for example, a lot more than just the little extra leech here and there. But you do see first death going down on the Drezeron fight for Team No Healer. The leech wasn't quite enough. And just really extra damage, but it's not too bad because they're able to get the pylon out, they're able to get that little res out, and it's happening just at the end of the fight. You know, one of the scariest things is if you're having any of these deaths, say midway through the fight, you're not able to have a battle res, and you just have to sit through it, and you have to just get through the fight with 1 DPS damage, wasting so much time.
I mentioned this earlier, Jack, and now is the moment that we're really going to have to keep it in mind. Immunities most likely are not going to be available to pretty much anyone on the side of Team No Healer. And for anyone who really knows how this fight works, you'll know how dangerous that really is. But Jack, for anyone who maybe doesn't know why Xavius can be such a darn hard boss, what are some of the mechanics that these squads got to look out for?
One of the things that makes Xavius an absolute nightmare to deal with is going to be the randomness that you're going to be getting with some of the abilities. You are going to be having the Nightmare Bolt that does deal a huge chunk of damage, and it puts a little field around you that you need to stand with at least one more person. Otherwise, you're going to be pacified. You're going to be silenced. You're not really going to be able to do much of anything here. You are seeing the feed on the weak going out on the rest of Druid. Not because the healers are weak necessarily, but, it's just an ideal target. It can be a random target there. You are seeing the Druid, again, countering it by going into bear form, taking advantage of frenzy regen. And that's one of the biggest things as healers. You want to be able to look at all of your raid members, all your party members that are going to be around you, looking at what the best tool is going to be able to save them, react rapidly, and get everybody topped off, get everybody safe before that transition to 50%.
TLDR, Shade of Xavius is quite spoopy. Very spoopy indeed. And now damage coming in, though, from the side of Ying, and it looks like they're very close to getting that chest and cracking open the bling. But like you mentioned, they need to get past this intermission phase right here. So when we see Shade of Xavius actually get to 50%, that's going to be the big test. But this squad is the most prepared to deal with it. The Warlock going to have to move in there so it can continue casting due to that debuff.
And you are also seeing, for example, the unstable paranoia. It was going on the Druid. So usually the Druid and the Warlock were standing next to each other.
They were the duo.
Nightmare Bolt. Druid gets the paranoia, needs to stand off alone. If anybody stands in his personal space, he does get feared away. He does run away, take quite a bit of damage. And they are keeping him in the corner here so that when the transition at 50% goes out, there will be that large detonation that everybody will have to use immunities on, large defenses on. You're going to see all of them coming out here. Getting those out, you're seeing Icebound Fortitude, for example, going up. You're seeing everybody's defenses going up.
Walls up on Warlock as well.
That's right, and you're able to see, again, there's going to be a lot of Nightmare puddles be spawning around the room, just be hitting Earth around the room. If they hit Xavius, they start buffing his damage and can stack up very, very rapidly. So they keep him in the corner, avoiding all that from happening.
Absolutely everything invested there, though, defensively. We saw the Karma go out as well for that Windwalker. Just everybody making sure to push all of the buttons there. You want to stay up through that intermission, and now they're pretty much smooth sailing at this point. And Team No Healer, yes, they've had massive amounts of damage on the boss, but Shade of Xavius already at 30% for our team that's got a full squad with a healer, everything. Will these shenanigans be able to catch up? It looks like right now they're waiting for a miracle. They're waiting for an absolute miracle.
They're waiting on, feet on the weak, for example. if there was no AMS, if all defensives and stuff like that were used, that can be quite problematic for Frost DK. You're going to see right off the bat, getting one of the DPS down for Team No Healer. They're not able to have any kind of extra defensive. They're not able to have any mitigation. The next Demon Hunter almost going down to that feed on the weak, and just so much damage if you have really no kind of safety and nothing there to actually help you out.
Hey, look how this is looking like a pretty clear map 3 at this point. Yingying's just got to cross all their T's, dot all their I's, and watch Shade of Xavius go back to whence he came. But Team No Healer has a very, very strong thing in their favor as they head into map number 3. And that is the Karazhan of Upper.
That's right.
Well, we'll have to see what they do pick up, as that was, I think, sensible prevailing there when Ying. They picked a map that was quite standard. They played a standard composition, of course, and they didn't really take any risks. It wasn't a super one-sided affair, but it was one that they always looked like they were winning. And I think Jack even admitted the healers were weak toward the end of that one as well. So we've kind of seen everything with this Mythic Dungeon Invitational, but I'm very happy to see that because, I mean, we'd seen a lot of standard compositions. We talked about different DPS coming out. Now the team with no healer, they have the kind of ball in their court. They have the advantage here with the map choice and the affixes, of course. And you were talking about it a little bit, Rich, that we actually kind of, there aren't that many places they could go with this composition.
There are a few, but Upper seems to make the most sense. I do want to point out, this is the effect that I do have on healers. They eventually just give up. So Jack now is no longer a healer, apparently. I think we've saved him. We've saved him. Have I introduced you to my good friend 4 DPS comp?
Meet Jack the Shadow Priest, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
I don't think so. But yes, I think, yikes.
Yikes.
I think what we should be saying here. But
Yikes.
I think one of the things that we should remember is that when we came on the desk, Rich was boasting at how many keys he has run with Jack, and Jack does play healer. So healers do have their place in the meta right now. All the teams that have qualified so far have played it, but it would be really interesting to see if this no healer squad can pull it all the way, because they've been looking really, really good in this one. What do you think they would have to do? Do you think they're going to swap back to the Salty Rogue and play something like Apakarazan?
I think that this is going to be just the straight-up option. That's going to be just the best option for them as we're seeing this. But one of the interesting things is going to be the foresight. Like, what's going to be the long-term preparations for Team No Healer? Because you have to keep in mind, while we start off with Maw of Souls for this bracket, when we go on to the semifinals, it's Bursting Grievous Tyrannical Blackrobe.
The thing is they're only locked, though, for this round, right? So this is the period where we did really see, like, okay, this is when Team No Healer can potentially run without the healer. As they do move forward, maybe we do see something else come out. You can still multi-class in this tournament. Obviously, the changes have come in, and they have been really interesting, but we haven't really seen the full effect yet. And we're going to get to do that as we move through these other rounds and start to see, as the keys get progressively harder, as the starting dungeon does change, do these teams pull out different classes? A lot of the more traditional compositions probably won't have to, but a team like Team No Healer, very well, they might have to. And the question is if they drop down into the lower bracket, will they even be able to run that Team No Healer 4 DPS strategy? It's very interesting to see, and I love the fact that we already do see teams not necessarily playing it by the book.
Yeah, I truly do love it. I'm so happy to see that China has been bringing out all these strategies and they've been prevailing thus far. Great series coming out. Ying do their thing in that game. They're able to tie up the series 1-1. No healer now looking to respond in the third and final map of the series. Best of 3, double elimination though, so we will see both these teams either way. This is the final 2 teams that we've seen out of China, and boy, what a show it's been so far. Entertainment is just around the corner after this break. No healer versus Ying. Who will win? Find out next. our second map 3 of the day, as it is between No Healer and YINGYINGYING. We're tied all square at 1-1 here, and we are in our final of the first round. If the team here will decide the final one in the upper bracket semi-finals, but of course this is double elimination. We will have teams competing. Everyone will see them again throughout today's broadcast. I am Adrian Healingstat Archerlock, and joining me on the desk we have once again Jack and Rich. We've had some very exciting moments, but I want to reveal now, already we have the map choice coming in very, very decisive from No Healer. They knew exactly where they wanted to take it, and actually, contrary to what we were perhaps speculating, they are moving over to Court of Stars, and that third affix is going to be the Necrotic. Now, Jack, as a healer, you can tell us a little bit, like, what do you think the reasoning is for that? Because presumably they are targeting the healer since they're playing without one.
That's the weird thing that's come to mind. I mean, I can think of, like, the first and second bosses are going to be a lot more easy to deal with. For example, if you're going to be able to have the leech, you're able to kind of pair it up with any of the ads coming out, and you're able to rely on, like, the self-heals out of, like, the warlocks or, of course, the demon hunters. But it is kind of concerning for the final boss there, and that's the thing that I'm most worried about, is dealing with the final boss. We already saw, for example, Court of Stars with the Disc Priest, where, you get on that back foot, and you really need to do whatever you can to kind of top everybody else off. Are you crossing off all your notes?
It does look like it. I just want to provide one more piece of information. We are swapping back to the Subtlety Rogue on No Healer, so we're going to have the exact same composition in Game 1. Do you think maybe the Necrotic is something that, if they can just burst down these mobs super fast, it's going to provide them an advantage?
They already have no healer, so I don't think they're worried about reduced healing. That's one of the biggest things. They're not really worried about
the Necrotic makes sense.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You're not a big fan of Court of Stars, I'm sensing. What is it about Court of Stars that you don't like, Rich?
I mean, so much more can go wrong here without a healer than going to, like, upper.
One of the biggest things that actually causes a lot of extra damage is anybody not playing perfectly. For example, like when you have the Inquisitors, right? If you're not gripping any of the Inquisitors, if you're not able to stun them, interrupt the I-beams, all that kind of stuff is actually what's going to cause most of the problems. One of the big things with, for example, like the Enforcers, if you're not dodging it. But outside of that, the melee attacks are not that bad at all.
I mean, hey, look at where this team's excelled so far in these games. Even in the map that was picked to counter them, with bosses that are hard to deal with, they always caught up when they were just having to deal with boss damage. That is where they caught up. It's never been trash.
That's right.
Upper would have made sense. Obviously they've practiced more, and the thing that we've actually talked about is how practice has probably worked, right? So the things that you do practice are primarily your third map picks. It's the ones that you know are guaranteed, right? Obviously, so the first round ones, so like Maw of Souls, like Black or Cold, that we're actually going to see as we jump into the next round after this series. But this could just be something that's really practice for them. It's just not what I expected.
Well, you kind of proved your point, though, right? You said, what do they win on in Maw of Souls? They won.
They use my points against me.
I'm gonna let both of you continue this discussion, but I'm gonna let the teams put the money where the mouth is. They have the third game. We're ready to load it up into the final map, Court of Stars, and I'm willing to bet this is going to be one of the most exciting games that we've seen. Not only because these teams are battling it out in this race, I feel like you two are battling it out on the desk.
How
Take it away.
Dare you use my own point against me?
I haven't even completed it yet either.
What do you think? Neither did I. That's the thing with my points. They're very pointy and not finished.
You're talking about, like, where they came back in Maw of Souls. They came back in Maw of Souls because they pulled what the other team, what YINGYINGYING did not pull, right? If they're going to be doing something like Upper Karazhan, what do they have that's really going to be large enough trash packs? Those trash pulls can be replicated by YINGYINGYING, or should be replicated if they're giving it any kind of practice here. Team No Healer does have some good advantages to be playing very, very risky. Like maybe, for example, because this is, I believe, going to be teaming, they are going to be having some opportunities to maybe get something along the lines of, say, the Double Inquisitor pack into, say, one of the big impacts. Having that opportunity there to be able to get everything down, taking more risks, it could really, really pay off for them here and just getting the instance done much more cleanly. But I am still really worried about the last boss.
Hey, well said, man. I got a little distracted by the boat ride, as I usually do.
It's very romantic, let me tell you.
Hey, man, slow down. I'm still mad at you. You used my own point against me to talk about romantics. All right, we are going to see. It looks like they're actually going to go ahead and pull that first baddie, get a little bit of damage into him, just run him up along with the group. A lot of times you maybe see a sap come out on it, something like that, but this time they're just going to go ahead and pull it up with the main trash. And there's been a big meta change here, and already we have seen this dungeon. I know it's actually one of your favorites. Yeah, I love running this one with you. But the thing is one of the big changes that we've actually seen is these early pulls. We really have kind of seen headed on over to the docks being quite common.
Yeah, and you see the Dock Pulls just becoming so much more common than they were in the last Mythic Dungeon Invitational, but not for no healer. They are already progressing. They're ignoring the docks completely. They just wiped out all of the little mana worms there, and they're going onto the guards. They are going to be going on to, for example, the Mana Saber pack. They are getting it trapped. They are playing extra safe here, making sure that they don't have to deal with that.
Hey, look, Team No Healer. Bows before no meta, bows before no man. But what is it that has made this dock pool so popular? I know it's one that you like to run quite a bit. What is it that actually makes teams grab extra time off of it?
It's usually just the simplicity of it. And you're seeing here, Team No Healer, these are the massive pulls that we're talking about. Well, the docks is something very common. This is something that usually is not tanked usually altogether there. You're seeing just absolutely everything getting gripped in together. Huge damage going out on the construct there. They just got to make sure that, they don't really have to worry too much about the suppress, but they really have to watch out for that charging station coming up.
Yeah, they do, and now we can see that dock pull being completed by Ying on that little small area of your screen, and we're going to leave our focus on Team No Healer as they get very close to pulling this first boss, and like we mentioned, they have always been very good at dealing damage to bosses with their 4 DPS, and already they're ahead on trash as well. Slowly, Ying going to be catching up here. They're about to make their way to the bridge. Keep in mind, though, they've had a few extra pulls because of that dock pull, so they're a little bit further ahead in trash than they really do appear at the moment. Even though they're behind in the percentage, they should be able to catch up as they get up into that first boss's grill. But what do we expect to see mechanically from this first boss, Jack?
Well, the big thing mechanically is going to be the Street Sweeper. One of the most dangerous things can definitely be having to watch out for any of the roots that are coming out. I mean, you have the Resonating Slash, and the Street Sweeper can be pretty easy to dodge, but when you are having that snare, when you are having that movement impairment going out, that can be very lethal there. You are already seeing the Soulstone going out, for example, on the tank, just to make sure that everyone is going to be safe and secure, and if the tank does go down, they are able to instantly react there and don't have to wait for the 2 or 3 second cast out of the Warlock to be able to get everything. But they are adding in more trash into the mix. Very notable because we are on Necrotic. They are having to deal with all those mana worms, so he pre-AMSs. That way he's not going to be able to get any additional stacks. And then he does give himself quite a bit of distance from the boss. All that trash gets absolutely wiped out. He gives himself distance. He's able to reset his Necrotic stacks and just keep on dumping damage into the boss.
So obviously we know that Subtlety can get a lot of damage out of that, but one of the things that you can also point out is the fact that Demon Hunters can actually generate healing off of it. That might have been one of the other reasons that they actually did want to get that pull, but also it's going to shoot them a little bit further ahead as they do get it now. But we are going to see the pull come in from that first boss from our other team, and they got a healer to work with here as well, so they're going to be a little bit safer, and they're already getting massive amounts of damage in, so they're not too far behind at this moment. They have that little bit of an edge. They got that 3% trash right now, and you can see slowly catching back up, but keep in mind exactly when that patrol captain will fall.
Well, the interesting thing is they may look like they're in a very favorable position right now, but Team No Healer hasn't even done the docks pull yet. So if they are going to end up having, for example, maybe like the Rogue going ahead, opening up the gates for them, they have the rest of the team go and do the docks pull. They absolutely obliterate everything there. That gives them just a huge opportunity just to swing this in their advantage, dodge a lot of the Inquisitor packs, just only focusing on Enforcers.
That's what Kid started to mention a little bit earlier, and now as you can see, that patrol captain just going to kind of be a pushover at this point, but that's right the area where Ying has him, so it really is going to come down to the track. Very close here, but one of the things that I want to note is you can tell, as much as I was saying, hey, look, this is the dungeon that makes the most sense to me here for a 4 DPS comp to run, and Sours and I talked about it quite a bit too. You and I talked about it quite a bit because we really did expect this to be a series that went the distance in our best of 3. You can see just how well practiced this team really is on this map. They know their strategy very well. They know their win condition very well, and they're executing flawlessly.
I mean, again, they're going with the signature big pulls that they're going with. I'm actually quite surprised that they didn't quite do the dock pulls. Maybe they're leaving that as an option for the future, depending on what they really need. But if they're very confident, they're confident enough to, for example, be pulling Enforcers into Inquisitor packs, pulling them into Impacts, then you might not even see them have to even bother with it at all.
Yeah, those are the packs that you really tend to get angry on.
When you stand at all the bursts?
I'm so impressed by your capabilities to heal that I just want to see what you can truly do.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered here.
What are DPS going to have to do on that pack, though, here without a healer like yourself to rely on?
Well, they're going to have to be focused on the big stuns. You're seeing the Enforcer, again, being pulled with the Inquisitor pack like we talked about. You have to be making sure, and getting all the imps down. So you have the Inquisitor with the imps, with the Enforcer. They need to be able to deal with the Fell Detonation. They are going to be able to have, for example, like Cloak of Shadows being able to completely negate the debuff being spawned at all. But then you just have, of course, the Demon Hunters and the Warlocks have have to just self-heal themselves through it. So they do have that debuff. They are able to leech heal themselves through the worst of the damage. Then they pull into the position so cleanly here. They pull them against the wall. That way they're able to line of sight the damage against the wall, and it makes it so much easier. That's absolutely phenomenal play here by Team No Healer.
I just noticed something, but I'm not going to tell you yet.
Well, I'll be waiting.
I'm going to see if you can solve the mystery before I actually reveal the answer to you.
All right, Riddler. They have now just pulled hotaya here, and they are grabbing some of the final. Actually, they have cleared out all the remaining trash on this side of the room here. So it would have been something kind of cool if they were able to kind of get to the other side of the room, have some more trash done with hotaya, avoiding the whirling blades here.
I never read the name.
You never realized this?
Oh man, that's awesome!
Like a kid in the candy shop, Rich Candle has discovered hotaya.
Wow,
Is out to get you.
that's a good name for a demon.
I'm glad you approve. And of course, they're taking this down. They have plenty of DPS, lacking a healer. So just build up resources to be able to dump. Dump. Losing it right now.
Good job, whoever named that one.
And on the side of Team Ying here, they are jumping into the house to be able to avoid the Enforcer's AoE damage going out there.
But hotaya has been defeated. I have slain you, demon. Will be the battle cry of Team No Healer here as they continue to move about this dungeon.
Absolutely huge pull here coming by Team No Healer, pulling the double Inquisitor pack along with the Imps. Gigantic damage here.
They invested defensives here.
They
too,
invested
as well.
everything, and they need to invest everything here because they also pulled the Enforcer. So this is just the absolute biggest pull that they are dealing with. He's trying to get the Enforcer around the corner now, but they haven't even gotten the Inquisitors down yet, so they need to keep on getting the Searing Glares taken out. They're probably going to lose a lot of people here.
Purg hasn't been popped, though, yet. That is one silver lining at this moment, but we aren't seeing their tank able to stabilize at this moment. It doesn't look like Leech is going to be available because we aren't seeing anyone bounce up. Now the tank does fall. They still got a little bit of work to do. They're able to line of sight that Enforcer just in the nick of time, and now the damage is pouring in, but will it be enough? Instantly, though, we are able to see the rest of the group come in. Tank going to be able to pick up aggro. It looks like they have stabilized, but now they got 4 deaths on the board to the only one that Ying does have. So keep in mind, that's going to be an additional 15 seconds on the clock, not in their favor. But they have been able to do these big pulls nearly flawlessly. That's really the first trip that we've seen, and they've already picked up so much time at this point by doing that strategy, Jack.
And it really looks like they just got burned by their own affix comp pick. The tank did get necrotic, or they did choose necrotic, and he was unable to remove his stacks there. Whether or not he was able to just not be able to have his AMS up. Maybe, for example, they just got chewed through because they weren't able to get the stuns out on both the Inquisitors or to be able to interrupt the Ice Storm there. Whatever the reason, that does cause them to lose a little bit of time, even though they are in a great position, for example, on the mini-bosses and on Trash here.
Now, they are just... Now I'm reading all the names. I'm just waiting.
Unfortunately, the rest of them are not as entertaining there. You are getting Baelgar there, the Watchful. So, just the little I-beams going out. You're dropping Darkness there to help mitigate some of the damage, just to start reducing it for everybody there. They do need to take care of one more Inquisitor. They do need to take care of quite a bit more trash here. So they're looking for, the Inquisitor pack that's usually held by the book, getting that with the Enforcer there, and then start moving towards that little corner there. That way they're able to get those consistent line of sights going on.
Of course, and as you can see, we're very close on both sides to completing the amount of trash that they need for this dungeon. You can see 87% already for Team Ying, 85% way through trash for Team No Healer. They're going to be able to get all of that completed now, and then they're going to head into the next boss. The next boss, though, do you think that is one that's tricky to go through without a healer?
One of the big things to just kind of watch out for is going to be, how much you're going to be able to have, the leech damage, how much the rogue, for example, is going to be reducing just his damage taken. You might just be keeping, as defensive a build as possible. That way you'll have the longevity.
Yeah.
You'll have to keep in mind. One of the nice things, though, is that they're not going to be running into something like Grievous. One of the big killers could have been if they go into Court of Stars with the Grievous affix, because then that just really makes it a lot harder to be able to get yourself topped up over that metric. Because a lot of times what you'll find is on the rogue, especially when they get to the Flame Wreath boss, he's not going to be topped off 100% of the time. Maybe if they get the leech proc during when all the imps spawn, you'll have an opportunity there. But overall, what you're going to be relying on, what you're going to be looking at, is going to be the survival, the extra leech coming out at the times the rogues drop the lowest.
Now Jazz Shiryu has been pulled, and as you can see, these big pulls that have been done by Team No Healer, they were actually behind in percentage when I called it out just a few seconds ago. But their pulls are so big that anytime they are actually finished doing their damage, they instantly just shoot up, and now they are getting very close to this boss. And I want to highlight their composition again and why it does look really strong in this boss. They're going to be able to get very strong healing when the imps come out. They're going to be able to get those additional I-beams, and also this is where this sub-pick could really come in handy. Get that one shuriken storm out, all those imps are going to be there, and that means that it's an instant finisher right onto the boss. So their comp does seem to be relatively well positioned. They're also going to have good stuns, so there's plenty to work with for this squad as they head into this third boss.
Yeah, you said
second boss.
They are going towards the second boss. They are a little bit short on trash percentage there, so it looks like they might have just missed just a mob here or there as they're going forward with it. Just important to kind of watch out.
That's actually really unfortunate, though, because we talk about how well-timed that these big pulls are. Now they almost are forced to go for a small pull, which is just going to be that much extra time.
Yeah, I mean, worst case, they might even have to be going for one of the enforcers, and have to be dealing with one of the enforcers, taking up a lot of extra time. They're not especially lethal when you're able to get all the line of sights off, but it is very, very time-consuming having to chase it all the way across the court.
Oh man, that artifact ability from the Warlock there, just going to be able to wreak havoc. You see, as soon as it goes off, it's essentially a chain reaction there. Massive amounts of damage going to be able to come out from the Warlock. And you can pretty much just see, this is why this strategy is so strong. And look at how much damage this Rogue is able to go out. And you can see the second that the Imps do come down, all of a sudden you're jumping up. We're getting close to doing almost 5 million there for a second from the Rogue, but the Rogue's still not safe as of yet. This is always going to be one of the most vulnerable targets on this squad. But Ying, they've finished all of their trash, so if they can get smooth sailing through this boss, cheat that their deck.
Oh, he does go down.
We need a guy like you.
He does go down. They already working on getting that. They need to work on getting that res back up. They do have 2 available to them. But that's the scary part. Is like I said, you're dropping low and you're waiting for the next set of leech to come out. That way they will be able to top him off. It might just be that they'll leave him down. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to be holding, for example, the reses for something like near the end of the boss fight, the last boss fight coming up. But you do have a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, for example, for, say, the Demon Hunters, for example, to start dodging. You have evasion out of the Rogue. Give that extra dodge to the last boss, but I guess they will just leave him down and won't, and just keep on focusing his damage as best as they can.
Man, the Devil Demon Hunters on the Imp is just so sweet. You're just able to go ahead and throw out that stun the second that the firebolts are actually close to getting cast again. Able to pop in another one there. Ain't no problem. Now the Rogue finally going to decide to join the rest of his team. And this is actually the... Are you ready to solve a mystery?
Oh, I'm ready to solve mysteries.
They don't have to. They're just going to be able. They're just going to be able to use Spectral Sight, and that isn't something that is going to be available on the other side. That could actually be quite a lot of time. Those clues are difficult to sort through.
Are they?
Yeah, it's like vest, gloves. I don't know. I know quite a bit about fashion, and sometimes this is quite a tough cookie for me to crack.
Well, you just need to get your ascot together, have your Ace Detective suit on.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah, of course. I thought you knew about fashion here. They are getting, of course, all of the chatty...
Don't forget who tied your tie, buddy.
No comment.
Wrong guy.
They are, of course, getting all the clues together. Once they get the 5 clues, the Demon Hunter is able to use Spectral Sight, instantly find out who the spy is. They are, of course, following the spy. So it turns out he is a Dreadlord, just like Jaina. And, of course, getting it down, taking the key, and moving on to the final.
Boom, shakalaka, zoinks. They solve the mystery, and they are able to skate right on by, but Flame Wreath getting deletified by Team Ying. They're catching up very quickly. And it's funny, this is one of those moments that you live for as someone who loves MDI. In the history of MDI, this hasn't happened that many times where it really does just come down to this essentially mini game here. This could be huge for the squad. If they're able to quickly figure out who that Dreadlord is, they can catch up.
They can catch up, but it's also going to be assuming that there's going to be some kind of mistakes for Melandris that are going to be coming up on Team No Healer. I mean, one of the most deadly things is going to be able to, how you're best able to get people topped off, how you're going to be able to really deal with the constant damage that's going to be coming out from Melandris, and really just dealing with that pulsing damage. It's crazy.
They're 25 seconds behind, though, too, Team No Healer. Of course, they are a little bit further progressed here, and we're waiting for Team Ying to figure this one out and figure out who that they actually do need to wail on here.
It's interesting to see. We even compare the times, for example, when they do take out the Dreadlord compared to when Ying will take out the Dreadlord. Is it going to be making up, for example, that 25-second differential? Is there going to be any extra deaths for Team No
really
Healer?
close.
It is going to be extremely, extremely close here. Just because it shows, for example, on your left screen that Ying is just about to start fighting this Dreadlord, it doesn't necessarily mean that No Healer has this one in the bag. Those extra deaths are so significant.
Yeah, I mean, Ying's 25 seconds in the future. That's how this works. I know that sounds unfathomable. It's tough to bend the fabrics of space and time, but that's what's happening right now. They are quite a few seconds ahead, and they are going to be chunking down now this Dreadlord before we actually see No Healer get through that RP. It can take quite a bit of time to actually, speaking of bending the fabrics of space and time, Elsan going to slow down time here as we wait for her to finish talking. Melandra's now going to pop out, and this is all on Team No Healer. This was their map pick. They were able to take the first map, and now the question is, who is going to fall down into that lower bracket? Is it going to be Ying, or is it going to be No Healer? Melandris taking serious amounts of damage from this 4 DPS comp, but they need to make up for 25 seconds here.
1/4 of the boss's health already gone before the first slicing maelstrom does go out here. You are seeing, of course, as many defenses as possible going to be able to just be recycled, rotated through. I'm kind of surprised, for example, that the Warlock is not out baiting out any of the clones that are going to be going out here. It's going to make it a little bit harder, especially for everyone sitting in melee, to dodge Piercing Gale here.
Ying is so close. This is actually insane. Now, they have the RP. The RP is going to take a little while. You remember that we've been here before. It looks a little bit familiar. We're going to wait for it to go through right now. 50% just about for Melandris on the side of Team No Healer, but 25 seconds behind once again. And they could possibly see a death here because the damage just ramping up throughout this fight. And you can see real estate quickly evaporating on this platform for our merry band of no healing thieves.
And like you're saying, they're also getting really, really close to the other clones, the other copies of Melandris. They are dealing a lot more damage. They're sitting right on top of one of the clones during the entire Slicing Maelstrom, so it's so much leech healing required to get through that. And the Piercing Gale is just really, really reducing the amount of space they have to work with. We saw in the last series with the Disfreezed Winner, by the way, where they were able to just bait out where all the clones are going to spawn, making it so much easier to deal with Piercing Gale, putting it in very predictable scenarios. So it'll be very interesting seeing, taking advantage of things like Blade Dance, taking advantage of the extra leech like you were talking about, being able to get just the extra avoidance factors, reducing their damage as best as possible. And they're 22% as Ying is about to approach 65.
This DK is a monster. He's able to pump out so much damage. Windwalker going to be able to catch up. A lot of groups going to be bringing Windwalkers. There are obviously someone who was able to do massive amounts of damage, but there was crazy bursts coming out of that Death Knight, and all of a sudden Melandris looking like she should be able to fall here. They have a lot to work with still at this point. They shouldn't lose anymore, even though that we are going to see so much damage coming out from this boss. But keep in your mind, the second that Melandris starts to fall, the second that Melandris does fall, we got 25 seconds for Ying to be able to bring down this boss.
We saw huge damage going out there on the Warlock that past time, and just making sure everybody's able to stay alive. One more tick, there we go. Getting so low, but that's it for them. They have finished, but it's not in the bag just yet. There's 25 seconds difference. They need to catch up.
They got it. If they do it in less than 20 seconds, Ying able to win here. You can see Melandris definitely taking a lot of damage. This is where that healer could be the deficit for their squad.
And you're seeing, again, they still have another 4 seconds left thereabouts. They're not going to be able to finish this out. Beyond all expectations, defying all expectations, Team No Healer, even with extra deaths, they won.
I can't believe they won, but I'm so happy. They're literally turning my world upside down in this one. It's so great to see that a team can come up with something like that and actually do it, and hey, only in China.
I mean, okay, so we obviously do know that this is a region that constantly just breaks meta, right? They figure things out, and we talk about this in a lot of different tournaments. It's not only going to be in the MDI, we see it in PvP as well. This is a region that, for a lot of different reasons, doesn't necessarily consume the same content, abide by the same metas that we do see, and they're able to come up with different things like this. But even with this team, the question is it a one-trick pony? Because as we move forward, it is going to be much harder to run a composition. And like, this is coming from me. I want nothing but DPS. I would love to see a group with all Demon Hunters and nothing but I-Beam being cast the entire series. I want to see the world chaotically go up in flames there. But the thing is
in the seat empty. as a result.
You're just wreaking havoc on the desk here, Rich.
Right.
But
No more healing meters and a sad Jack.
it is a good point, though, because, I mean, this team now, they have advanced to the upper bracket, and that's what we'll be going to next. But that also does mean we're elevating up the keys. We're elevating that difficulty. We'll be moving over to the second map pool as well, which isn't going to have those slightly more comfortable maps like More of Souls. So it's going to be very interesting to see how no healer does perform. But this is great, Jack. I'm really happy to see that we have 4 teams in the upper bracket, and no 2 of them are running even remotely the same composition.
That's right, and that's one of the beauties, like you said, of the Chinese region. Maybe some of the communication, maybe just some of your preferences really are coming into play, where they're saying, "Hey, we're comfortable with this. We're going to be able to dominate this, right?" And as you said, we're going into the 23s now, and the first instance I believe is going to be Blackrock Hold with Bursting Grievous Tyrannical, right? So, are they going to be a one-trick pony, like you said? Is it going to be something where they're just going to really struggle with this and they're not nearly as practiced as they are? Because you have to invest so much time. Imagine the amount of time you have to invest in having no healer for these instances.
We've watched quite a few streams together and think about what we've seen in the streams. And if you've been hanging out watching a bunch of these guys actually get ready for this tournament, the thing that you probably saw more times than not was keys being ran that were those predetermined keys for that first part of the match. It just makes sense. Nagora's competed in Mythic Dungeon Invitationals before. Now she's going to be here casting with us, but that also gives us a level of insight as well. We got Sours here. We get that level of insight. And when we talk to these 2 players who are incredibly seasoned, they're saying the same thing. It just makes sense to put your attention there. Make sure that you are most ready for the keys that you know that you're going to see.
And that's one of the really exciting things I think about this year's Mythic Dungeon Invitational. We're going to see all of the top players playing on our stage behind us later at that global finals. That's what they're fighting for. We can have a little look over at the bracket right now and see how it's played out. We've played our first 4 series of the day. Skyline D, Skyline top, no healer, and Sunsky sitting pretty in that upper bracket. Just 2 series